A to the T to the H. Math is awesome. Mr. Ng's videos teach you a lot about math and to show your work, because if you don't show your work, then that's cheating, and we don't do cheating.
Hey guys, let's go over the Module 1 test, December 6, 2022, version C, E, and F. What is the graph of x squared plus 4x plus 2? Well, let's fill this out. Ax squared plus bx plus c. A is 1, b is 4, and c is 2. My a value is 1, which means the graph will open up. So it's either of these two choices and not this one. Notice how that one's facing down. Negative people are frowning. Positive people, a values are positive, smile. 1c, fill in the blank. I know that the axis of symmetry is, well, x equals negative b over 2a. My b value is 4 over 2 times my 1 value, so x equals negative 2. Axis of symmetry, where x is negative 2, basically this yellow line here. And so therefore your answer is A. So remember, average rate of change is a fancy word for slope. If you kind of just quickly did a simple graph, this is x. Let's just say your graph looks like this. What you're trying to find there is between 1 and 5. Say this point, and let's just say this is 5. Let's say this point. Basically, you're finding the slope of the blue line. So you can evaluate separately. Which basically means this is your x1, this is your x2. So they're not, it's not a order pair there, nor it's an interval. It's not an order pair, it's an interval. So f of x1 value I'm just going to take and repeat it because we're going to do that for your next one. Whoops. Let's see. That didn't work. All right. So my x1 value is 1. And then we're just going to simplify here. 1 squared is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. I'm using PEMDAS here. And you'll get 1 comma 7. All right, let's go ahead and do now the x2 value. And x2 value is 5. So 5 squared is 25. 3 times 5 is 15. That's 100 plus 15. So f of 5 equals 115. And that is the order pair 5 comma 115. And now we're going to use our slope, or average rate of change. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is x1, y1, x2, y2. And don't forget it has a minus sign. Use substitution with parentheses. So y2 value is 115 minus 7. x2 value is 5 minus 1. So this will give us 108 over 4. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 8 to 8, 28 divided by 4 is 7. So my answer for slope is 27. The average rate of change is 27. Question number 3, complete the table of values for this problem here. And you can just evaluate. I'll just do it one time, and then you can use Desmos. -3 squared plus -3 minus 3. So that'd be 9 minus 3 minus 3. So that would give us 3. So when I put in -3, my output is 3. Put that into Desmos. Let me put in the function. Y equals x squared plus x minus 3. And then you click on the gear, and then I want a table of values. So those are the numbers that I want to fill out. Take a picture of those. Or just write it down. -2, -1, -1, -3, 0, -3, 1, -1, 2, 3. And if you want other values that are on there, for example, -3, you can just type it in and you'll get a value. Let's just say I wanted +3. It'll get the answer for you, 9. Okay, let's go back. So -3, 3, -2, -1, -3, 0, -3, 1, -1, 2, 3, and 3, 9. And that makes sense because if you graphed it, left 3 up 3, left 2, down -1, -1, -3, 0, -3, right 1, down -1, right 2, up 3, and then 3, 9, which is off the graph. Multiple choice, use the graph to find all the solutions. So the solutions are going to be where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, so those are the ordered pairs. Now we need to find one pair of consecutive integers. Consecutive just means next to integers, like -3, -2 are. And we need to figure out where the roots are. Well, the roots are here and here. So let's just change this one to blue. This is -1, -2, -3, -2. Over here in yellow, this is 1 and 2. So it's between 1 and 2 and -3, -2. That would be choice A. Let's go on to this next problem. Number 4, we need to simplify this one. So the temptation, let's write that, don't do, is to do something like this. And then negative times negatives is a positive, so you do 25 times 81, and then you multiply those and you would solve that. So don't do that. You want to evaluate these separately, so square root of -1 times 25 times square root of -1 times 81. A fact you need to know is I is equal to the square root of -1. So that's going to become here and here. Square root of 25 is 5, square root of 81 is 9. And then if you square this, you get I squared equals -1. So I times I is I squared, and I squared is -1. 4 times 5 is 45. So your answer is going to be -45. What is one of the solutions? I'm going to show you guys how to do this one by factoring. You can also use this by quadratic formula, the longest, and then number 3, which would be square root method, which is probably the fastest. I'll go longest to slowest. So x equals negative b, so x squared plus 0x plus 16. So your b value is 0. Plus or minus 0 squared minus 4 times a times your c value, which is 16. All over 2 times 1. So opposite of 0 is 0. I'm not going to add or subtract 0, so that kind of goes away here in yellow. So now I have plus or minus 0 minus 64. So that's just 4 extra 2, yeah. Negative 64 over 2. That'll reduce to 8i over 2. So x equals plus or minus 4i. And that would only be choice A. If you chose this by factoring, same thing. A times c is 16. My b value is 0. We haven't really done this, but it is possible. Two numbers that multiply to be 16 and add to be 0. So that would be 4i and negative 4i. Negative times a positive is negative. So negative 4 times 4 is 16, and I times I is I squared. So that becomes positive 16. So you would get x plus 4i, x minus 4i, set those equal to 0, and solve. Same thing on that side, you'll get negative positive. The easiest method is just using x squared plus 16 equals 0. The square root method or square root property is only when you have a and c. Subtract 16 from both sides. Take the square root. When you take the square root, your next step is going to be plus or minus. These cancel. X equals plus or minus 4i. And that'll be your two choices there. Okay, with the three different methods of factoring, quadratic formula, or the square root method, you'll notice that our answer would have to be B, negative 4i. Question number 6, which of the following expressions is the factored form of x squared plus 25? So let me show you a couple of ways of solving this one. You can do this by factoring. X squared plus 0x plus 25. Your a value is 1, b is 0, c is 25. Do not make the mistake that c value or your b value is not 25. A times c is 25, your b value is 0. Your answer is going to be negative 5i and positive 5i. Because if you multiply those two, you will get negative 25i squared, and I squared is equal to negative 1. So that will give you a positive 25. So that would be choice C. You'll notice that you are basically just putting in here in red negative 5i and positive 5i. Well, let me take that back. The formula would be a minus, and then you put negative 5i and a positive 5i. That one will become positive. Now, another way of getting that is just doing the square root method. Subtract 25 from both sides. Take the square root, plus or minus, x squared equals 5i. Whoops, that's not there. And you're going to do the same thing. You'll put it here and put it here. Okay, let's solve the quadratic equation. A, B, C. A times C is negative 20. My B value is 8. Writing out all the factors that multiply to be 10. And I'm going to do 10 times negative 2 is negative 20. 10 minus 2 is 8. Set each of those equal to 0. x equals negative 10 and x equals 2. So that'll be choice B. Okay, this is already factored for us, so I just need to factor it. A, B's, and C's, A times C. It's going to be 36. B value is negative 12. My two numbers are going to be 6 and 6. They're the same expression, so I could put those together. Perfect square trinomial. The expression on the left side is now isolated, so I could take the square root. When I do the square root, I'm going to have plus or minus. This goes away. And if I add 6, it's going to go to the left. X equals 6 plus or minus 8. So 6 plus 8 is 14. 6 minus 8 is negative 2. All right, so my choices are 14 and negative 2. That would be, in this case, D is my answer. Completing the square, I have x squared minus 8x equals 1. We need this C value. C value is by completing the square, b over 2 squared. So my b value is negative 8. Half of negative 8 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. If I put 16 here, then I'm going to have to put 16 there on that side. So my equation looks like this now. And I can just factor that. A times C now is 16. My B value is negative 8. Those two numbers are negative 4. So negative 4, negative 4. And then I can just solve by the square root property. Put them together, power of 2, quantity 2, square root. So x minus 4 is square root of 17, and then add 4. My answer is x equals 4 plus or minus radical 17. That's an exact answer. And not multiple choice. Free response, I gotta show my work. All right, question number 10 tells me to use the quadratic formula. My A is 5, my B value is 3, and C value is negative 1. I'm gonna write out the quadratic formula. X equals negative B plus or minus square root B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. My B value is 3, use parentheses. My A value is 5, and my C value is negative 1. And my A value is 5. Okay. 3 squared is 9. Pay attention, negative 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Negative 20 times negative 1 is positive 20. So it's going to look like that. 2 times 5 is 10. And this would be my exact answer. You cannot break down square root of 29. Okay, let's go ahead and for number 11, I'm just going to factor this. So A times C is negative 3. B value is negative 2. My two numbers are 3 and 1. X minus 3. X plus 1. And then I'm just going to solve this, set it equal to 0, and get two numbers, 3 and negative 1. Those are my roots. So all of the graphs have that. Okay, what we want to do is test a point. And before I test the point, you'll notice here this is a less than, which means it's going to be a dotted. It's going to be dotted. If it was then a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, this would have been a solid. But that's not the case. So let's go ahead and find the one that is dotted. That is going to be A or C. A couple other things you can note. Standard form. Let's pick a different color. C value is your y-intercept, which all of these have. Your A value is 1, so it is opening up, which all of these have. Okay. Now let's just use our test point. Let's test 0, 0. Your x value, so my test point is 0, 0. I'm just going to put them in there. So 0 is less than or equal to 0 minus 3, 0 plus 1. That's negative 3 and 1. So 0 is less than negative 3. This is false. Okay, so that means this test point is false. Means we're not going to shade. No shade. Okay. So it's not going to be this one. Your answer is going to be C. Oh, no shade. That's shaded. It's going to be A. Now, another way you can do this is test another point. Let's say 4, 0. And 4, 0 should be true. And just put it in there. Same thing, every x value. So 0 for y. X is 4. That's a 4. 1, 5, 0 is less than 5. This is true. So the order pair that we have, that area should be shaded. All right, video game developer determines that the profit in thousands of dollars for a new video game can be modeled by the function where x is the price of the game, and the game will be profitable if p of x is greater than 0. So let's just make a quick sketch and help us understand what's happening. Negative 2,000. A value is negative, so it's going to be graphed down. Something like this. And we're trying to find these points. Those are our x-intercepts or solutions. And it's saying it's profitable when it's greater than 0. So in this black shaded region. Okay, so let's go ahead and just solve this. P of x is negative 2x squared plus 130x minus 2,000. I'm going to factor out a negative 2. So looking at the coefficients here, negative 2 times x squared gives me negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 65x will give me positive 130x, and negative 2 times 1,000 will give us that value. Now I'm attempting to solve this by graphing, and the two numbers will be x minus 25 and x minus 40. And if you set that equal to 0, again, how did I get that? Let's use red. A times C is 1,000. My B value is 65. And then my two numbers are, that should be negative 25 and negative 40. And so if you set each of these equal to 0, set it equal to 0, That's what I said. You're going to get -2 cannot equal 0. Add 25, and you'll get these two values. Now, you can literally just put that into Desmos. So our answers are 25 and 40. Uh-oh, I think I see a typo. 25, that should be 25. Okay, let's graph it and see what happens. I'm just going to put all of p of x in there. You don't need to, but you can put y equals -2x squared plus 130x minus 2000. And you'll see our two solutions here. 25, 0 and 40, 0. Okay, so maybe I'll just give you full credit if you had 40, because in version C that was a mistake. Number 13, let me just set these equal to y. So y plus 3x squared equals 32. Y equals -3x squared plus 32. Y is equal to x squared minus 4, so you don't need that. So x squared minus 4 equals -3x squared plus 32. You can move them to either side, but I'd rather have a positive a value. Whoops. And subtract 32. See what happens. I'm going to get 4x squared minus 36 equals 0. Factor out a 4. And if you factor this, you'll get x plus 3, x minus 3. Set those each equal to 0. That's not true. And then you have -3 and 3 is our answers. Okay, so now that I need to put in, I have to test these solutions. Which is one of the solutions in number 13? Okay, so what I would do in this problem is, let's test -3. Y equals x squared minus 4. If I put in -3, I should get 9 minus 4 is 5. So if x is -3, then y is equal to 5, which I have here. You'll notice that none of these has a second one of +3, so E is your correct answer. And those were the solutions. See you.
Do you want to learn to love math again? Go to Mr. Ng's website or to his YouTube channel. He will teach you to learn to love math again. Mr. Ng, the #1 math teacher in the whole world.